Hi, I'm Chandra, and I'm making videos every day until I get good at it and comfortable with it. Uh, I don't really have much of a thesis of what I'm going to talk about today, other than I'm going to talk about my day. And I guess along the way, it seems that this thing I was talking about yesterday about boundaries and seeing my boundaries inside the situation that these young people came to me about with how do you get rid of a roommate who's on drugs ethically? And what do you do when you just can't handle your boundaries being violated? It's a funny thing. What do you lose when you stand up for your boundaries versus what do you gain when you drop your boundaries? I think what do I gain out of situations where I have some boundary or another and I let it slide to keep the peace, I guess. That's one thing that happens. But is that peace, if it's kept by creating an inner sense of threat, anxiety, discomfort, feelings of low self worth? I guess the peace being kept is the peace for the person or institution or person representing a specific type of institution. And in that instance, I don't think that this is actually peace. I think there must be another word for it. It's submission and it's erasure. Again, what do those terms really mean? I guess there's an idea of safety attached to knots, ruffling feathers, or causing waves. If you ruffle someone's feathers, they might be agitated. When a bird's feathers are ruffled by the wind, they change direction. And I guess if there's this absolute idea that the direction that a bird is flying in is the only direction, then the idea of their feathers being ruffled and conveying some message as to no, this is no longer the direction to go in could be considered a disturbance. And that is based on the idea that disturbing or causing change or questioning are bad and shouldn't happen. I think that's what I get or have got from moments where I don't actually stand up for myself or just stand up for my boundaries. So what would the kids get yesterday out of not confronting their roommate who's breaking the house rules? No drugs, no alcohol, no smoking inside. In that situation, is the norm the concept that the person who has changed the rules is now the ruler? Rules and ruler, that kind of makes sense when you think about it. If you change the rules, you are in charge. They were in charge of their households and set the rules for their households. The third roommate came in, accepted their rules, and then gained dominion over the household by making the original rules defunct and taking over. So, in this instance of the other two roommates being put in the position where they have to confront her, not only confront her, but tell her that she's going to have to leave. This is no longer an environment where she is welcome in because of the breach of the covenant of the rules. So, in standing up for their boundaries and their rules, they are saying that they challenge this person. So, in a relationship, like a romantic relationship, when the boundaries change, let's say you enter a relationship which is based on an understanding that you're meant to be a faithful, monogamous, two-person relationship. And one person, after some point in time, changes that rule. If you are a person in the relationship who wants to be monogamous with that person only and does not want to be with that person when you aren't their designated other, when you impose your boundary, you are not declaring war necessarily, but things might fall apart. Or your boundary, the declaration of your boundary might just be an exit. In that instance, something is also lost. And losing a roommate because their drug usage is just a full no in the household. The consequences of standing up for a boundary are that how are you going to pay that third of the rent that's gone missing? How are you going to manage to get the excess bills, like the annual heating bills and costs? How are you going to get that from that person? Um, what if being told to leave means they don't pay the rent that's coming up on the first? And there's no deposit involved, so there's no backup plan to protect you. Your boundaries all of a sudden become a liability. But this knowledge of what's going on in the household is fresh. It's only been going on for a couple of days. The expedience of standing up for the boundary is swift. And the realization of all of the losses has also been swift, the potential losses. Yeah, that's what happens when you stand up for your boundaries. So, today off and on, I've been thinking about that. And I've also just been around the house because I'm really tired. Um, I have increased my daily exercise quite a bit this last week. The one difference being I've taken on walking again. The ice and snow have melted. We now have glorious, beautiful rain instead, which I am absolutely fine with. It's warmer. And so I was able to take, 4 or 5 mile walks the last few days. I was also hanging out in a workshop that only one side, the woodworking workshop, doesn't have any heat. And it's in a cellar and it's colder than outside. And I spent all day Friday in that workshop. And then yesterday, I spent all day in the other maker space doing laser cutting for um, stencils from my drawings and light cuttings, which I'm going to be using for this upcoming collection of pieces I'm producing. And by the time I left the workshop yesterday, I guess I arrived there at 11. I went for a long walk before, so I walked about 3 miles. And I left there around 8 o'clock at night. And then I got off the bus a mile and a half early so I could walk the rest of the way home. And by the time I got home, my whole body was like, whoa, what's going on? But I'd used all my physical energy. I'd had this talk with the kids about, yeah, Vic's the drug doing roommate from the house. And so I just joyously collapsed into a deep sleep and got to sleep 10 hours. And all day, my body's been really hurting. I can really feel the effects of the car accident. I can feel how my body struggles to realign itself. I can feel where compensation has created and strength here, weakness here, stiffness here, tightness there. And so my day was largely about sitting in the sensations related to managing chronic pain. I also had a fantastic hair treatment. My papi and I were talking this morning, and he mentioned that he was going to have to wait a bit to go outside because he had this mixture of mustard oil, coconut oil, castor oil, um, which I added a little bit of eucalyptus too for this nice tingly effect. I also dyed my hair a different shade of green. All these little self-lovey things that are good for times of reflection and in preparation for the new week. I had other things that I really wanted to do, and I guess my energy just wasn't really up to them. I felt a lot of anxiety about dealing with just, stringing a cable from the outlets, which are all unfortunately on one side of the room and not on the other. It's a cheap thing and it's a practical thing. So in the next room, the uh, the wiring is all just on this wall, but it's inconvenient because how do I work on the other side of the room where the desk is? Uh, so it's been about stringing a cable, and I've been just sitting there watching that be on the floor for days and weeks. Actually, it's not days. I wish it was days. I could say a month or more, uh, because the first position I had it in, oh, that's just tangential. Um, So I got my head around the techniques that I'm going to use today and this time, sitting here doing my deep oil treatment, letting the hair dye set. And I kind of just eliminated everything off the list, which as it was happening, I was really frustrated with myself. I wanted to accomplish all these things. I just didn't have the energy for it. And I felt a lot of frustration about the things that I wasn't doing because they need to be done. They're important. They're even fun and exciting. But my body needed a rest and my mind needed a rest. And now it's late enough in the evening that I can just do some yoga and go to bed, or not do some yoga and just go to bed because I'm tired, and let that be enough. Let that be all that happens today. So, yeah, I've recorded a video now. thank you for watching. If you have watched past 30 seconds, which I absolutely don't expect anyone to do, I think I probably would watch past 30 seconds to see, where's this ramble going? Is it going nowhere? It's possible it's not going anywhere because who is this person? What do we know about her? Why are we listening to this person? These are all questions, but I'm going to do this every day anyhow. Maybe there will be answers.